From bamboo curtain to global superpower, China's miraculous transformation. The Great Awakening, how a nation rose from ashes to challenge the world. Imagine a country where bicycles filled the streets, poverty touched every corner, and the outside world seemed like a distant dream. Now picture that same nation launching rockets to Mars, building cities in months, and reshaping the global economy. This isn't science fiction. This is China's story, and it's the most dramatic transformation in human history. In 1978, China was a sleeping giant wrapped in chains of its own making. The numbers tell a story that seems almost impossible today. Over 800 million people, nearly 90% of the population, lived in absolute poverty, surviving on less than what many now spend on a cup of coffee. The Cultural Revolution had just ended, leaving scars that ran deeper than any external invasion ever could. Here's what will shock you. The entire Chinese economy in 1978 was smaller than that of Belgium today. Roads were dirt paths connecting isolated villages. Technology meant a transistor radio was a luxury few could afford. The iron rice bowl system promised everyone a job, but it also promised everyone would remain poor together. Picture this scene. In Beijing, the heart of the world's most populous nation, streetlights were so scarce that darkness swallowed the city each night. Foreign visitors were rare, watched constantly, and kept in designated hotels like specimens in a zoo. The Great Wall, now China's symbol of national pride, was crumbling, unknown to most of the world, buried under decades of neglect and international isolation. But behind this curtain of poverty and isolation, something extraordinary was stirring. A 74-year-old man named Deng Xiaoping was about to unleash forces that would reshape not just China, but the entire world order. December 1978. While Americans were dancing to disco and the world was focused on the Cold War, Communist Party leaders gathered in Beijing for what would become the most consequential meeting in modern Chinese history. Deng Xiaoping, recently returned from political exile, made a declaration that would echo through the decades. It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. This single meeting launched the greatest economic miracle in human history. The decision was radical, almost heretical for a communist state. China would embrace market reforms while maintaining political control. They called it reform and opening up. But what they really did was unleash 1.4 billion people who had been waiting centuries for their moment. The transformation began immediately, but few could have predicted its scope. In Shenzhen, a sleepy fishing village of 30,000 people near Hong Kong, Deng designated China's first special economic zone. Today, Shenzhen is home to over 17 million people and produces more technology patents than most entire countries. From fishing nets to 5G networks in just 4 decades, has any place on Earth ever changed so dramatically, so quickly? What happened next defies every economic textbook ever written. China's GDP began growing at rates that seemed impossible, 10% year after year for decades. To put this in perspective, if your investment grew at China's average rate since 1978, every dollar would be worth over $40 today. But here's what makes this truly mind-blowing. China didn't just grow, it lifted more people out of poverty than the rest of the world combined. Over 800 million Chinese escaped absolute poverty, the largest anti-poverty achievement in human history. This wasn't just economic growth. This was a transformation of human potential on a scale never seen before. The numbers are staggering. In 1978, China's economy was worth $150 billion. By 2010, it had grown to over $6 trillion, a 40-fold increase in just 3 decades. Manufacturing exploded from nearly nothing to producing everything from toys to iPhones. China became the factory of the world, but that was just the beginning. Foreign investment poured in as multinational corporations recognized the potential of the Chinese market. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. China wasn't content to just be the world's factory. They were learning, adapting, and preparing to leap ahead of their teachers. While the world was busy debating whether China could innovate or only imitate, something remarkable was happening in Chinese laboratories, universities, and startups. The student was becoming the master, and the speed of this transformation left global competitors stunned. The numbers today are jaw-dropping. China now has more 5G base stations than the rest of the world combined, over 1.4 million and growing. Their high-speed rail network stretches over 40,000 kilometers, more than the rest of the world's high-speed rail combined. While other countries debate infrastructure spending, China builds entire cities and connects them with trains traveling at 350 kilometers per hour. In artificial intelligence, China isn't just competing, they're leading in many areas. Chinese companies process more mobile payments in a day than most countries handle in a year. A grandmother in rural China can buy vegetables using her smartphone, while many developed countries still rely on cash and cards. But perhaps nothing symbolizes China's technological ambition more than their space program. In 2020, they successfully landed a rover on Mars. In 2021, they began building their own space station. The same country that couldn't produce a reliable bicycle in 1978 is now exploring the cosmos and planning missions to the moon. Here's what should terrify and inspire competitors. This is just the beginning. China graduates more engineers annually than the United States has in total. They file more patents, publish more research papers, and invest more in research and development as a percentage of GDP than most developed nations. For centuries, China's military was a symbol of weakness, defeated by smaller foreign forces and unable to protect its own borders. The humiliation of the Opium Wars, Japanese invasion, and foreign concessions created a national trauma that shaped Chinese thinking for generations. Today's reality would shock those who knew the old China. The People's Liberation Army has become the world's largest military force, with over 2 million active personnel. But size isn't the real story. It's the modernization that has military strategists worldwide taking notice. China's military spending has grown from virtually nothing to over $250 billion annually, the second largest in the world. They've developed hypersonic missiles, stealth fighters, and naval capabilities that can project power far beyond their borders. The same country that couldn't defend its own coastline now operates aircraft carriers and has military bases across multiple continents. But perhaps most significantly, China has become a cyber superpower. In an era where wars might be won with code rather than conventional weapons, China has developed capabilities that exist in the shadows but could reshape global power dynamics overnight. While the world was connecting through American platforms like Facebook and Google, China was building its own digital ecosystem, and it's become more advanced than many Western alternatives. The scale is breathtaking. WeChat isn't just a messaging app. It's a complete digital life platform used by over 1 billion people. Alipay and WeChat Pay process more transactions than Visa and MasterCard combined. China's e-commerce market is larger than the United States and Europe combined. In artificial intelligence, China isn't just participating, they're setting the pace. Facial recognition systems that seemed like science fiction are now routine. Smart cities use AI to manage traffic, reduce pollution, and improve citizens' lives in ways that seemed impossible just years ago. But here's the kicker. While other countries debate the ethics and implications of AI, China is implementing it at scale, creating the world's largest real-world laboratory for artificial intelligence applications. China's rise isn't just a national story, it's reshaping the entire global order. The Belt and Road Initiative, connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe through infrastructure investments, is the largest international development project since the Marshall Plan. The scope is almost unimaginable. Over 140 countries have signed on to various Belt and Road projects. Chinese companies are building ports in Africa, railways in Asia, and power plants in Latin America. This isn't just business, it's the creation of a new global economic architecture with China at the center. Trade relationships that took Western nations centuries to build, China has developed in decades. They're now the largest trading partner for more countries than the United States, a shift that would have been inconceivable just 20 years ago. Today, as you read this, China continues to defy expectations. They're leading the world in renewable energy production, building more solar and wind capacity than any other nation. They're pioneering urban planning solutions that could solve housing crises globally. They're advancing in quantum computing, biotechnology, and space exploration at a pace that keeps competitors constantly catching up. The most remarkable aspect of China's story isn't just what they've achieved, it's how quickly they've achieved it. In the span of a single human lifetime, China has transformed from one of the world's poorest countries to its second largest economy, from technological backwater to innovation powerhouse, from military weakness to global superpower. This transformation represents more than economic statistics or military capabilities. It's a testament to human potential, the power of focused national will, and the possibility of dramatic change even when circumstances seem hopeless. The sleeping giant has awakened, and the world is still adjusting to this new reality. China's story is far from over. If anything, the most dramatic chapters may still be ahead. What began with a simple observation about cats catching mice has become the most remarkable national transformation in human history. And remarkably, this is just the beginning.